And then I am going to go forward and share my screen as well, so we can start. Okay, wonderful. So this is the visa workshop for the John Felice Rome Center. I'd like to introduce you to our team. Again, my name's Alana Carroll, and I am the study abroad coordinator for Italy, specifically for the John Felice Rome Center. And I work predominantly with the post-acceptance side of things. So that includes the visa. This is my contact information here. It's acarroll8@luc.edu. Feel free if you have any questions through this process later on or throughout the whole process to reach out to me. And then you can always do a Navigate appointment with me as well. I'd also like to introduce Adam Schilling and Abby Linneman. They are assistant directors for enrollment management with the Rome Center. And so you may or may not have interacted with them on the program application side of things, or when you were interested in applying. And so you may have already spoken with them previously. And so here's their contact information as well, and Navigate. The other things that I like to point out to students while we're in the session is the email account. If you have questions, you can always email rome@luc.edu. Or you can go to the websites, and we have two websites that are helpful. You can go to luc.edu/Rome for information about the Rome Center, and then also the Go Global portal. That's where your registration is housed, and so that's where you're at this stage. Moving along, let's start talking about student visas. So for a student visa, students without a valid Italian or European Union passport will need to acquire a student visa for the spring 2025 semester. If you are an EU citizen, as long as you have an unexpired passport and it is valid 6 months past the end date of the program, you can study in Italy without a student visa. So there's no need to apply for one. Just make sure to reach out and let our office know that you plan to use an EU passport, because we'll just do what we call a little flag so we know that. And then in addition to that, make sure to upload a copy of that EU passport to your Go Global portal. If you hold citizenship in a non-EU country other than the US, please reach out to rome@luc.edu and we can assist you further. There's just a couple little nuances, additional changes, or I should say additions that you need to do for that student visa process. So we'll walk you through that individually if needed. The types of appointments. So obviously there's in-person, and then there is a mail-in option, and then there's a physical drop-off. So I'm going to go through what these appointments are like and what's involved with them. So for an in-person appointment, you would schedule that with the Consulate General of Italy, hopefully with Chicago. All students are eligible for that visa appointment, whether you're a visiting student or a Loyola student and you're from a different state, you all are eligible to use the Chicago Consulate. The other type of in-person appointment is with the Consulate General of Italy for the region that you go to school. And so this would be for the visiting students. So if you are an East Coast student or a West Coast student, you are eligible to utilize the consulate for your home school. Or if you are a Loyola student that lives in a region outside of Chicago, you are also eligible to use the consulate for your home state. So you have options, I should say. You have the option to all of you to use the Chicago one, which I recommend because we are the most familiar with that. Or you can use the one for your home institution or where you live. And so this hyperlink here, and again, we'll supply these slides along with the video afterwards. When you click on this hyperlink, it tells you the consulates and their jurisdictions, so you can determine where you might be eligible. The other option for an appointment is meeting with an honorary consulate. This is an official in another city in your eligible regions. And so you would meet with them. Sometimes students they'll reach out to them and meet with them in a coffee shop, things like that. And they'll go through your paperwork and then followed by a mailing to the relevant consulate. And then the other one is a drop-off or mail-in option with the Chicago Italian Consulate. So I want to specify that this is for the Chicago Italian Consulate. Again, as I mentioned earlier, each consulate is different and has different requirements. So for the Chicago one, students are able to go in person during their hours of operations and do a drop off of their materials and go back in person if they want to pick up their materials when ready. So student visa applicants can submit their application in person at the Chicago Italian Consulate, like I said, or mail in their application. Whatever works best for you. I figured since it's in our backyard per se, it's very nice to just go down there and have that peace of mind that you have physically dropped it off with someone in the consulate. I always say make sure that if you are doing either of these, whether it's a drop off or mail in, that the forms are signed and dated in front of a notary or an honorary consul or consular correspondent. Your signature needs to be witnessed by one of these individuals. So when you are filling out that study visa application for long-term stay, make sure that you leave on that third page the signature and the date blank until you are in front of a notary. And then again, they will witness your signature. One thing that I also like to say to students is rush processing is not possible. So we are now encroaching into mid-October. As I said, I'm hoping you are further along in this process and are ready to either mail, drop in, or you have that in-person appointment. But the longer you wait to do this process, be aware that you cannot have things rushed. And we as a university, Loyola cannot intervene on your behalf. So be cognizant of the deadlines and the information that we pass along to you. When should one apply for the student visa? Well, there is a 180-day window in which you can start the visa application. That window opened up back in July already. So we are well into the whole process of this. I like to state that because we do have those earlier student visa workshops. And so we state that when that time opens up, but that was already back in late July. So you are able to go in there and do this process now. And if you have not started, as I said, please do so. Let's make sure that you are moving along in this process. So scheduling your appointment. Hopefully, some of you have already done this. If you haven't, there is a platform, a software system for booking visa appointments. It's called Prenota at Me, MI. And we provide the website information. I will say for Chicago, almost all of those appointments have been taken up. So I encourage students to just pivot. You're collecting all the same information in the documents, whether you're going in person, a drop off, or mail in. You can continue to look on this platform for booking, but again, most of those appointments are taken. Keeping in mind, the Chicago Consulate serves 11 different states. So if you, take all the public and private universities within those 11 states, that's a lot of people going through one small office here in Chicago. So that is why those appointments are very hard to get. But if you're very determined and you really want that in-person appointment, you can continue to check their reservation platform. And sometimes students cancel appointments. So if you're able to secure one and that works, fantastic. But again, I would just start collecting those documents and pivot to either the mail-in or the drop-off. With that being said, we put some deadlines here just as a guide for you. I liked, and when I say guide, I of course want you to submit your application and all the necessary documents way before this. But if you are looking or have a in-person appointment with the consulate, we would like you to have that before December 1st, because this process, this review process by the Italian government and their consulates takes time. That can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. So we do say if you're going to do an in-person, have it before December 1st. If you are doing a mail-in option, we want you to have those materials in no later than November 15th. And that's applicable also if you're doing a physical drop-off process before November 15th. Again, I encourage you to do it even before that. The next slide talks about what documents do I need to apply for the student visa. So as I mentioned earlier, the basic documents are the same for all the Italian consulates in the United States. However, some of those consulates may require additional documents. And so our office is not always privy to those those other consulates. As I said, we're well versed in the Chicago one. So we can speak and assist you further with the Chicago one. We can guide you a little bit on some of those other ones, but I would encourage you have the options to do mail-in, the drop-in, or in person. I really strongly encourage you to use that Chicago office. But if you should choose to use a different one and you fall into one of those regions, one of those consulates, whether it's your home university for those visiting students, or you live in a different state and you want to utilize that consulate that serves your state, always check the website for the Italian consulate through which you are applying for a complete list. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you're looking at their website and gathering all the things that they need. Once you have all your various documents assembled, you want to bring them to your in-person appointment or drop them off at the consulate or mail them in as soon as you have everything together. One thing I do tell students is please note that the consulate does take your physical passport while they are processing this application. So you cannot travel internationally during this application review time. So do not plan any trips abroad during that processing time. That happens a lot with students over the Christmas break. They think they're going to go somewhere and they didn't allow enough time for processing. And so they're without a passport for those small holiday trips. So I always want to make sure that you're aware of that before you go through this process. So the student's responsibility. This is essentially a study visa document checklist. I kind of summarize here what's on the Chicago Consulate's website. I encourage all the students, and I give the hyperlinks to the link to the Chicago Consulate here. I tell the students to certainly work off of the consulate's page because they're the source of truth. You know, should something be changed and our office is not aware of it, I want to make sure you're using and looking at their document checklist. But this is a great resource to give you an idea of what you need to collect. So you will need to fill out the visa application. You'll need to print and fill that out. And it's the visa application form for long-term stay, which is 91 to 365 days. As I mentioned, you can either download that and it's a fillable PDF or print it out and fill that out by hand. That's fine. Just make sure that it's legible and that it's in ink, not pencil or anything like that, or marker, that it's in ink. In addition to that, you're going to need a passport size photo attached to that visa application. So you can go to a CVS, a Walgreens, or even if you're a Loyola student, you can go to Campus Card, which is located in the Sullivan Center on the first floor. And with Campus Card, it's a nice quality picture. And it's about $10 for 2 photos. So it's very easy. So I would encourage you to utilize that Campus Card if you are a Loyola student. In addition to that, the next item is you would need your physical passport, like I mentioned earlier, plus 1 copy. So make sure that you are going to a copy machine or scanner and printing out a photocopy of your passport. It can be in color, it can be in black and white. All I state is that it should be legible. So if the toner's turned up way too high and it's too dark and they can't read the writing or see your picture, then you need to do another one. So just make sure that it's very clear and legible. For non-US citizens, you will need to produce your foreign passport, the original plus a copy. And in addition to that, you'll also need to produce, if you have one, a permanent residence card, original and a copy. And then there are more details on the Chicago Consulate. So if you're an international student and you have a F1 visa, things like that, we can help you walk you through that process. And so I have the hyperlink here as well. Um, the next item that you'll need to produce for them in this collection of materials is a copy of your driver's license and state ID. I want to say that again. It's a copy, not your originals. Do not send your driver's license in the mail. Do not hand it over or drop it off. It is a copy. Um, it states on their website that this determines the eligibility to apply for a visa at that particular consulate. But as I mentioned, all of you are Loyola students, therefore all of you are eligible to use the consulate. So for instance, I get the question, I'm from California, but I'm a Loyola student. That's okay. Make a copy of that California driver's license. You are still eligible, but they do need that. It's another form of identification that they need. The next item is the study abroad insurance letter and acceptance letter. That is organized through our office, through Loyola. And I produce that only after the flight itinerary information and upload is completed in your Go Global portal. It's very important that you have this done. Many students kind of sit on that thinking, they're going to get a better flight. And now you're eating away at your time, especially now in mid-October, for getting this into the consulate. Our office has about 10 business days to produce those letters. So, we have to get a wet signature from our director. There's a particular seal, a raised up seal that goes on those letters. So again, we need time to produce those. So you can't email me on a Tuesday and say, I have an appointment on Wednesday. Can I have those letters? It most likely, I'll try my best to do that and you can reach out to me, but chances are I can't turn it around that fast. So be aware of that situation and plan accordingly. The next item is what we call the proof of financial means. This is essentially where the Italian government needs to know that you as a student have financial means for the duration of time that you're in Italy. And so they require that you produce proof to them that you have access to funds for your time there. So they ask that you produce 3 most recent bank statements or a letter from a US bank institution on their letterhead, signed by a bank official with a recent date indicating the account balance. Now they have a calculation, and so their calculation that they use is $1,000 per month. And so for your duration of time for the spring term, they ask that that would be 4,500. So when we're talking about the recent bank statements, the three bank statements, the most recent one has to have that 4,500 in it. So if we're now in October, that would mean your September bank statement should have the 4,500 as an ending balance. And then your August and July could be below that, and that's okay. But you still have to produce those. So they still have to see July, August, and September. And September has to have that amount that we calculated. If you are receiving financial aid from Loyola and you are relying heavily on that, we encourage you to reach out to LUFinaid at luc.edu. There's a form that you fill out so that they can produce a letter for you that shows what your financial package is, and that would suffice for what you need for that amount. So you can use that as your proof, or a combination. Sometimes students have, let's say, a certain amount in a bank account and they're also relying on financial aid. They'll produce both items. So if you have further questions about that, reach out to me or rome@luc.edu and we can answer those for you. If the proof of financial means is coming from your parents or guardians, not from you, not from your student bank account, but from your parents' accounts, then your parents will need to produce the 3 most recent bank statements or a letter. But in addition to that, they have to do what's called an affidavit of support. This affidavit of support has to be notarized as well. So the parents, if they are providing those financial means, they have to not only do the bank statements, but also that financial, that affidavit of support that has to be notarized. And so you would print those out and add that to your collection of documents. The next item is the confirmed flight in and out of Italy. I need you, or the Italian government wants you to print out the full itinerary. They need to see when you're coming into their country and when you're leaving their country. Um, this is applicable more for the students that are in the fall and extending, they're doing a full year. They only need to produce a one-way ticket and then proof of available funds. But because you all are a spring term, you would have to produce a full round ticket. Um, in addition to that, let's move on here. There's a fee that's associated with the student visa processing. So the Italian government does not review all these documents for free. They do have a fee that's tied to this. And so when you go on their website, specifically for the Chicago consulate, again, because that's what we're privy to, at the bottom of their main landing page, there is a button that says counselor fee. And so you would check there and a document pulls up, it's a table. It is unfortunately not translated to English. It's only in Italian. And so please note that it's the last item on that table, and it's called Visto Nazionale per motivo di studio. And when you slide over and you look, the amount is in dollars. And as of today, it is $54.90. So the key word is as of today. As I mentioned, that can fluctuate. It does not fluctuate daily. It fluctuates most certainly monthly, and depending upon the time of the month, if you're straddling between, October or November, you want to make sure that you're going back there and checking that before you go and get a money order. And money orders can be obtained through a bank. They can also be obtained through a United States post office. And so just to give you a little background, a money order is a form of guaranteed funds. It physically looks like a check, it's paper, but it is not a personal check. So just know that that's how they require their payment. And then you would make that money order payable to the Consulate General of Italy. And then whatever the consulate that you're using, you would add that in there. So Consulate General of Italy in Chicago, or Consulate General of Italy in Philadelphia, whichever consulate you're using. The key thing here, the next item, is a return envelope. So if you have whether it's in person or you're physically dropping it off, or even if you're mailing it in, whatever the case may be, if you're having them send your passport back to you, which they will after the processing, you have to supply them with a return envelope, unless you are going in person to pick it up. So that's another key part. But if you're going to have them return it to you via envelope, you need to supply that envelope to them. They do not fill it out. They don't pay for postage, none of that. So you need to make it as easy as possible for them. So you supply them with a return envelope for your passport and visa if you're unable to go pick it up in person. And so that envelope must be prepaid. It must be self-addressed. It has to be trackable. They indicate on here that the mailing label sections, the to and the from, must both contain the applicant's name and address. I tell students that you need to put your home address. Don't have it come back to campus or to the mailroom or to your apartments in Chicago. It's much safer to have that go back to your home address. So please make sure that you do so. And then the key part is keep that copy of that tracking number so that you can go back on there and look that up in, let's say, anywhere from that window of processing, which is 3 to 6 weeks. Let's say at 3 weeks after you've dropped it off or you've mailed it in, go back into the carrier that you're using, and they recommend FedEx or UPS. Do not use the United States Postal Service. There is a tendency for those passports to get lost or stolen. And it's not a very fun process to go through in that situation. So not only does Loyola recommend that you use FedEx and UPS, but the actual Italian consulate recommends it as well. But with that being said, you can go back onto the carrier's website here and plug in that tracking number to see where they're at in that process. And then the very last thing is if you are in fact having them return that via envelope to you, make sure that you fill out and print out the consent to send by mail form. If you do not have that included in your packet, they won't even look at any of these documents. So that's super key. And again, I've got hyperlinks to the consulate, emails. I just want to point that out also to this form as well. It's on their website, but I also have it on the slides, which will again produce to you afterwards. So moving on to the money order, as I mentioned, there's a processing fee. They want it as a money order. And so as I mentioned, you can get it at a bank. You can also go to a postal office and obtain one. I just wanted to provide an example of one that's from the United States Postal Service. And so this is what it physically looks like. And you would fill that out with the date, the amount, after you've checked the consulate page for what that amount is. And then you would fill it out, Consulate General of Italy in Chicago, as I mentioned. The address, zip code, you put in the memo, Italian visa fee, and then you would put your name, address, and phone number. Any alterations to that money order, like if you use whiteout or something, will render it unacceptable. So make sure you have all your information at hand when you're filling it out. Then, for the mail-in option, or even if you are doing that drop-off option, I just want to make sure that you're all aware of what the Chicago Consulate's address is. They are located at 500 North Michigan Avenue in Suite 1850. It is just south of the Water Tower campus. So it's very convenient for the Loyola students. You could take, if you're here at the Lakeshore campus, you can take the shuttle bus down to the Water Tower campus, walk over to Michigan Avenue, head south, and it's only a couple blocks down from there. And it's on the west side of the street, and it's right before the river. So again, their suite is 1850. If you're doing a mail-in, I have the full address here. But I also want to note that you should do attention visa office so that we know it's getting to the proper place. And then helpful documents, as I mentioned, there's a template for the visa application form. I've gone ahead and I've created a template. I essentially have given you the answers on how to answer some of those questions. So that is linked here. It's also on the brochure page when you're in your Go Global registration. On the left-hand side, there's a gray button that says View Program. When you click on that, it takes you to the brochure page. And with underneath that banner, there are different tabs. And there's one called Helpful Visa Documents. And so you can find the template there as well. And that's a great guide for you when you're filling it out. In addition to that, I've supplied here, hyperlinked, a blank affidavit of support. If, again, your parents are helping with the finances for the program and the proof of finances, that form is here. Again, I also supply the consent to send by mail form, so you can have the hyperlink here. And then if there's any financial aid questions, they should be addressed to lufinaid@luc.edu. The visa application and document review. I'm a resource. I am available to you. So if you have any questions, or you've gone back, you've looked at the video, you've gone through the slides, and you just have some particular question, you can always email me. If you want me to review your documents, you've got everything together and you're just nervous, you want another set of eyes, set up an appointment with me via Navigate. I am happy to do it. I do it very often with lots of students. I am located also in the Sullivan Center, and I'm up on the second floor in Suite 206. So feel free to utilize me as your resource. And then lastly, any questions you may have. Adam and I are here to help with that. I'm going to stop recording, and then we can address any questions. You can put them in the chat if you'd like, or if you want to, you can also turn your mic off and ask away. Okay?
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
If I'm planning on staying in Europe for longer than May 2nd, what should I do?
Okay, so the university provides you with the necessary documents to obtain a student visa. And
Mm.
so there is a start date and an end date. If you decide to stay beyond that date, the burden is placed on you to review any immigration or entry requirements for a country. I will say you cannot present yourself as a student if it's past that May 2nd date. You would be considered a tourist at that point. So if you were to be stopped at any point, you would want to make sure that you identify yourself correctly if they ask you.
Mm. So for my visa appointment, do I just still stick with the dates from January 15th to May 2nd?
That's for the program date. So one of the questions on that template, on that visa application form is it asks about the program dates and it's 108 days.
Mm.
What you have to do is, I believe it's question number 29. It talks about when you arrive into a Schengen area and when you depart from the Schengen area. Make sure that those match your flight itinerary. So if you are staying past May 2nd, don't say that you're leaving on the 2nd and you're not, because they're going to look at those flight itinerary that you supplied them, and they're going to look at that visa application question, and they need to match. So they'll be aware if you're staying past May 2nd, but as I said, you technically will not be a student at that point. You would be a tourist.
So I may have complicated things, but for my ticket, I did get a return ticket the May 2nd, but it's changeable, so it's probably going to be changed.
And
So
that's fine. Just at the time of submission, whatever you're printing out has to, again, match that application. And if it changes later down the road after you've secured your student visa, that's fine. You need to let me know and I will update it in the system, but you do not have to go through the whole process again with the consulate.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. Any other questions, Avery or Amelia? If not, I think we concluded everything that we have. If you do have questions after we get off this session, by all means, like I said, please reach out to me via email or a Navigate appointment if it's a little more detailed, and I'm happy to go over anything that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank-
Bye. Hi, Adam. Thank you.
Wow, that was easy for me.
Oh, I hear Spencer. Okay, so it looks like were there three or were there more and any drop off?
Nope, it was just the three the whole
Okay,
time.
well, that's what I expected, low numbers, and I wanted low numbers. And actually, two of them I've worked with before, so I
Oh,
think they were just jumping on to kind of probably maybe ask questions or just verify information. So
okay. Well,
so
that's
that's
good.
good. Yeah, two of the
Good.
three I was very familiar with them. So all right. Well, thank you so much for your help. I appreciate it.
You got it. I wish my camera was on so you could see this little note.
I know. I hear that little munchkin.
Yeah,
I love it.
he's been very
Oh,
vocal. So.
very book. Well, tell him he can run the next one then.
Oh yeah, he's staring at you intently right now.
Oh, hi, Spencer.
He's smiling.
Hi. I can't
But
see you, but I hope you see me.
I'll be back in tomorrow.
Okay. And actually, Adam,
Yeah,
I am remote tomorrow, but half day. It was the
for
flex
open
time
house.
from the open house. So I'll be in the morning, and then I'll have flex time in the afternoon. And then Wednesday is my regular remote day, but I'm available via Teams, Zoom, whatever's needed.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah. Well, Wednesday and Thursday I'll be in New York City, but
I know, I heard. So I'm man in the fort on those 2 days for both you
yeah.
and
Oh yeah,
Abby.
Abby's gone too. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, so hopefully I mean I'll get an update from her probably tomorrow. I'll maybe Zoom with her just see if there's anything else with the application I need to know. Or I'll touch base with you guys on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hopefully things are okay.
So far, so good. I mean, like
Alright.
one or two minor details, but
Okay. And then, yeah, if you do send any mass emails, I know I was on the last one that you sent out to students, but if you do send any updates or emails to students about the process, if you would just CC me, then at least I have that. Should there be any questions while you guys are gone?
okay. So you got the one about the advisors and stuff?
I did, thank you. Yes.
Sorry.
Spencer, you're so vocal today.
Yes.
I love it.
Alrighty.
All right, sounds like a plan.
See ya.
All right, thanks, Adam. Bye.
Bye.